So should you use the camera grid on your camera or your phone? The simple answer is yes if you're beginning on your photographic journey, but no if you're more experienced, and that would just simply get into your way both visually and creatively. In this video, you will learn some of the artistic benefits of using the camera grid, but also moving beyond that. So stick around and watch till the end because I believe there's something for everyone at every level. What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode on visual language and photography, where we learn about photography through various art vocabularies. As you can see, we're doing something a little different today, getting out of the studio and just getting out of my comfort zone. So things will get a little bit messy, but as all creatives do, you have to get out of your comfort zone once in a while. So we have a project coming up shooting for a company based in London, but with a branch office here in Hong Kong right at the heart of the business district in Central. We want to capture some of the city vibe, the hustle bustle, remotely with their designer to talk about how we can approach this. And we agreed to aim for very clean, graphic looking compositions that will go well with their new website design. I think this is like the perfect opportunity to talk about the camera grid and how you can use that as a creative aid to improve your work. You know, just check this out. So when we walk around the city, you will see a lot of lines converging, you will see patterns of repetitions. How do you organize all those things? So the way the camera grid works is that it helps you to achieve rule of thirds, dividing the frame into 3 equal parts, both vertically and horizontally, and that creates 9 equal rectangles. So this might as well could be your best friend when you're just starting off on your photographic journey, because this gives you a good framework to work with when you are trying to get good at composition. So if you just do a quick search on the camera grid and rule of thirds, you'll find that there are tons of videos teaching you how to bring it up on your camera, bring it up on your phone, and teaching you how to place a subject in one of the intersections of the grid, aligning with any of the lines on the camera grid as well. And then after teaching that, it's done, end of video. This is not the reason why we're here. The reason why we're here because we want to ask why. Why is it so effective? How do you use the camera grid and move beyond that? So tip number 1, tension. The camera grid is not a cross right at the center dividing 4 equal parts. It is a 3 × 3, 9-part division. You see, visual experience is dynamic. So when we see something that's off-centered, we can tell by a glance because our eyes are used to it. Without doing any kind of measurement, you don't need any rulers, tape measures to double check. By following the camera grid, we can easily place our subject off-center, creating a 1/3 and a 2/3 split within the frame. This takes advantage of our visual perceptual ability, where we see things in either attraction or repulsion from the center or the edge of the frame, creating a psychological movement within our brain. Tip number 2, stability. Although following the camera grid will off-center your subject, creating a slightly more dynamic composition, it doesn't mean that the frame is unstable. You see, the camera grid applies a rule of thirds, where both horizontally and vertically is divided into perfectly 3 parts. When you have your subject in 1/3 of the frame, the other 2/3 that is more of a less busy negative space is a perfect double of that. So it becomes like a perfect counterbalance. And all thanks to being in the same mathematical system, there is a certain stability within that. The same way we mentioned earlier, we can tell by a glance, let's say a traffic light is crooked. The same way you taste something that's turned bad from a leftover dish. We can tell from a glance when something is not right because there is a hidden structure. And when you place something within that structure correctly, even though it is more of a dynamic composition, is off-centered, it's actually controlled and certain stability is still in place for that visual viewing experience. Tip number 3, the edge. I always want to encourage everyone to think out of the box. You see, the frame's border itself is part of the camera grid. So you can always try to place your subject along the edge or having even partially cropped off. This will give your viewer a visual surprises. It will grab their attention by having a more ambiguous composition or something just a little bit more unsettling. The same goes with placing the subject in spaces between the grid lines. So the more you hang out with the camera and play with the camera grid, the quicker and the better you will be able to decide on where to place the subject, how to compose the shot, and develop a better skill and reaction time when you see an image that you want to capture. So now you can decide whether you want your composition to be perfectly symmetrical and balanced, or you want something more dynamic with a bit more of a controlled and hidden structure that organizes your frame, or something a bit more edgy with your approach and just go off the grid completely. By the way, don't forget to help like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. This will help the channel grow and more people will be able to benefit from all the content that I create. Camera grid or the rule of third can also apply beyond just doing composition, but how you present your work in your portfolio, your presentation, your Instagram feed, however you want to show your work. Because that rule of third, it's a universal kind of idea. You can have 1/3 of your work that is more traditionally accepted, more solid from most people's perspective. 1/3 of your work that is slightly more dynamic where you show how you differ from other people. And then you can have 1/3 of your work that is more experimental, something more edgy, the least expected from you. That kind of shows a good scope of your ability, your skill, and your vision. So here's a take-home tip for you. It's about placing people. You can place a horizon on the top third or the lower third. You can place any subject on the left or the right third. But when you are shooting people, especially around full length or half length of their body, it's a good idea to keep the head on the upper third so that you can have some room but not too much room. When you place your head on the lower third, it becomes a little bit weird because the negative space becomes too much above them. Take this with a grain of salt, it's not a must. Rules can be broken. A quick recap on the 3 main tips on understanding the camera grid are tension, stability, and the edge. So now you have a deeper understanding of the camera grid. I want you to try something. It's called the grid check of the photos. Do a photo walk, something like what we did today. Street photography is a great way to start. Find a piece of tracing paper, a piece of plastic, and draw the camera grid. Just download from the internet. Tape it on your screen and go through every single photo that you took from the day. You might see that some are nicely composed and some images your subject is just slightly off from the line. And see how they differ from each other, how you feel differently. Imagine how it could have been if you shot that image a little bit earlier or later. See, how different position might change the overall composition. This will really flex your muscle into understanding how quickly you can better your composition skill when you are just out on the street. So one last thing that I almost forgot to mention is that our studio just started a web store which contains different photographs that we've shot from our projects, outtakes, images that we love, and you are able to purchase them as art prints, all signed, certified with authenticity. And we just find that there are a lot of images that we still feel that there's a special place for them and they deserve a different light on a wall. So if you are interested in improving your living space or as a gift for someone else, do check them out. I'll leave a link down below in the description. They are a little bit different in terms of how we approach photography as decorative art. It's not just like any kind of landscape or cityscape that you would see. We try to put a different perspective into this appreciation of photography. So check them out. It will be a great support for me, for our studio. Just keep moving forward as well. So I hope you've learned all the things that I wanted to teach you today. If there's any other ways that you use the camera grid differently that you would like to share with the community, please leave it down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. A lot of things that I covered in this video require a very good understanding of one particular element, and that is negative space. And I've dedicated one particular episode entirely on this topic, shooting for negative space. So if you want to get even better at composition, jump onto this video right down below and I'll see you over there. Peace.